Welcome back to the deep dive. So last time, we were right there on the fifth terrace in Purgatory.
Dealing with avarice, that heavyweight.
Yeah, and watching Statius find that spiritual freedom by letting go of all that stuff, it felt like a real turning point.
It definitely was. Shedding those kinds of weights is, well, it's essential for the climb ahead, isn't it?
Absolutely. And today we're going to keep climbing with Dante, Virgil, and Statius. We're heading right into the 22nd canto.
Canto 22, yeah. Lots happening there.
It is. This is actually our 56th deep dive together. Can you believe it?
Wow, 56. Time flies when you're climbing the mountain.
It really does. So
Yeah.
our mission today is to explore what goes on in this canto, look at the symbols, and really try to pull out those useful lessons for, our own lives, our own journeys.
Sounds good. Well, as they actually leave that fifth cornice, that terrace of avarice, something pretty important happens for Dante.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
An angel shows up and wipes the fifth pea peccatum, sin, right off his forehead. It's this moment of purification made tangible. Lighter load. Literally. Only 2 peas left now.
2 to go. Lighter. But then as they're ascending, even though he's spiritually lighter, Dante's hit by this intense thirst.
Right. And it's clearly more than just needing a drink of water.
Okay, so what's it symbolize then?
It's really this powerful symbol of spiritual desire. That deep-seated ache for knowledge, for understanding, for, getting closer to the divine. It's a kind of restlessness, yeah. But it's the kind that actually pushes you forward, upward.
A thirst that fuels the journey. I like that. That resonates. That feeling of wanting something more, something deeper.
Precisely. And speaking of things that propel you forward, Statius, he shares something pretty amazing here about his own path.
Oh, right. His conversion story.
Yeah.
I remember we touched on him finding freedom from avarice. But how did he actually become Christian?
Well, this is the fascinating bit. He says he was guided to Christianity by reading Virgil.
By Virgil. His guide right there.
Yeah.
But Virgil's pagan. How does that work?
It's all about how one particular poem of Virgil's, the fourth eclogue, was interpreted way later in the Middle Ages.
Okay.
See, that poem talks about things like a virgin returning, a new golden age dawning, and medieval scholars looked at that and thought, hang on, this sounds like
a prophecy of Christ.
Exactly. They saw it as an unconscious prophecy of Christ's birth. So Statius reads this centuries after Virgil wrote it, and something clicks. He finds a truth in those words, a resonance that leads him towards faith. Even though Virgil, obviously didn't intend that when he wrote it.
That's kind of mind-blowing, that words can carry meaning, maybe even truth, beyond what the author consciously put there.
It really is. It's like this incredible poetic bridge between pagan wisdom and Christian revelation. Shows how inspiration can pop up in the most unexpected places.
Huh. Makes you think about the power of words, doesn't it?
Definitely. So anyway, they keep climbing, and they arrive at the 6th cornice. This is where the gluttonous are being purified.
Okay, the gluttonous. What's the scene like here?
The first thing they notice is this really striking image. A tree, but it's upside down. The branches hang downwards, laden with fruit.
An upside-down tree. Why?
Well, it's got deep connections. Think back to the tree of knowledge in Eden. This inversion, it suggests you need to overturn the natural order of excessive desires, flip your passions upside down, essentially, to find temperance.
Right, reorienting yourself away from just grabbing whatever you want.
Precisely. And then from this weird tree, a voice calls out.
A voice. What does it say?
It lists examples of temperance, but crucially, it frames temperance not just as, starving yourself, but as a positive, conscious choice for balance.
Okay, like what examples?
It mentions the wedding at Cana, where Jesus turned water into wine, but specifies it was done with moderation. It praises ancient Roman women who chose to drink only water out of virtue.
Ah, okay. Virtue, not just necessity.
Right. And Daniel, the prophet, refusing the king's rich food and choosing simple vegetables and water instead. And it even harks back to this idea of the golden age, where people were happy with simple things, acorns, water from a stream.
So temperance isn't about harsh deprivation then. It's more about finding that sweet spot, the right balance.
Exactly. It's presented as the right mean, a virtuous balance, making intentional choices about what we consume, literally and, metaphorically too.
Choosing what actually nourishes you, body and soul.
You got it. So after the tree and the voice, they actually meet the soul's purging gluttony.
And what are they like?
It's a pretty stark image. They're described as incredibly thin, emaciated, with sunken eyes, and they're singing, Labia mia domine, open my lips, Lord, from Psalm 51.
Wow. A visual reminder of the effects of past excess, and now they're asking for their lips to be opened for prayer, not food.
Yes. Precisely. It makes you think about how purification often involves facing some kind of lack or privation, doesn't it? Confronting that discomfort, maybe even choosing it, is what breaks the hold of those excessive passions.
Turning that suffering, or maybe just discomfort, into something freeing.
Yeah, into spiritual lightness, eventually joy. And it's right here, among these souls, that Dante has this really touching reunion.
Oh, who does he meet?
He recognizes his old friend from Florence, Forse Donati.
Forse. Did they used to exchange those teasing poems, the Tenzoni?
That's the one. They had this history of kind of lighthearted, sometimes quite harsh, poetic sparring back in the day. But now, seeing Forse here focused on purification, it totally transforms that old relation, that past connection, even the playful insults. It's like it's purified now, too. It becomes the basis for a deeper spiritual encounter focused on mutual growth and well-being on this journey. It shows how friendships can evolve, become ennobled.
That's beautiful, actually. Taking something from the past and seeing it in this new spiritual light.
Mm-hmm. And when you step back and look at all these moments in Canto 22 Forzi, the tree, Statius and Virgil, Dante's thirst, you start to see these powerful lessons emerging that feel incredibly relevant even today.
Yeah, let's unpack those a
Yeah.
bit, because it's easy to see this as just an old poem, but you're right, there's stuff here for us, for our journeys now.
Totally. Take that 4Z encounter, the transformation of friendship. How often do our relationships change as we grow, as the people we know grow? This canto suggests that shared history, even the complicated bits, can become a foundation for mutual spiritual support if we approach it with that purifying mindset.
That's a great point. People aren't static. What about temperance, that idea of balance, not just restriction?
Oh, absolutely. In our world, which screams more, 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 all the time, more stuff, more food, more noise,
Right.
the idea of consciously choosing enough, finding that middle ground, that virtuous balance, it feels almost radical. It's about reclaiming freedom by setting mindful limits, not just being deprived.
Freedom through limits. Interesting. And the Statius Virgil thing, power of words.
Yeah, that idea that truth or insight can hit you from unexpected angles, or that maybe the things we say or create can have ripples, meanings we never intended, kind of calls for more mindfulness, both in how we listen and how we speak, doesn't it?
It really does. Which circles back to Dante's thirst.
Right, that spiritual thirst, that longing. Seeing it not as a lack to be quickly filled with distractions, but as an engine, a drive towards growth, towards understanding.
So the question becomes, are we actually cultivating that kind of thirst? Or just trying to ignore it?
Exactly. And finally, that purification through facing lack, seeing the suffering of the gluttonous souls, but understanding it leads to lightness. It teaches that sometimes letting go, maybe even embracing a bit of voluntary hardship or discipline, is precisely what frees us from being slaves to our habits or desires.
Transforming struggle into lightness. It's a recurring theme.
It is. And these aren't just, abstract medieval ideas. They touch on real choices, real challenges we all face. Why think about this stuff? Because finding balance, letting go, seeking deeper understanding, navigating changing relationships, that's the stuff of our lives right now.
It connects across the centuries.
Mhm.
It's the human journey.
It really is.
So, wrapping up our deep dive into Canto 22 today, the big takeaway seems to be about the specific ways purification unfolds, how relationships deepen, the freedom in choosing balance, the surprising power hidden in words, and the unexpected lightness that can come from letting go, from embracing a kind of lack.
Yeah, it shows that while the journey is incredibly personal for Dante, the principles he uncovers, these dynamics of growth and release, they speak a universal language. They resonate.
Definitely. So as you go about your week, maybe something to reflect on, drawing from Canto 22. Can you recall a time when letting go of something, an object, an expectation, maybe a habit, actually made you feel unexpectedly lighter or freer?
Or perhaps think about a small, conscious choice you made recently that helped bring a little more balance into your life.
Yeah. And maybe consider, what's one way you could actively nurture that spiritual thirst this week? That desire for something more than just the surface level?
Good questions for the path ahead.
Indeed. We'll leave you with those thoughts. We look forward to continuing this exploration with you on our next deep dive.